The College Board actually rooting for you to pass your SAT with a higher score. I'll use practice test 6 to show you. It's a common sense test, at the same time, hidden strategy. I'm going to show you how to find the answers. I'm not just giving you the answers, but we're going to walk through. Follow me. Let's go. Model 6, math question 1 and 2. Let's go. A certain bird species can fly at average speed of 60 meters per second when in continuous flight. At this rate, how many meters would the bird fly in 4 seconds? This, if you use ratio, you can find it, but I want to show you how you can create a table with it and then think about the actual conceptual question associated with it. Let's think about it. As a certain time and distance, when the bird is not moving at 0 time, we have this. But every second, we're going to fly, 16 meters. 2 seconds, well, that's our rate every time, 32. 3 seconds, well, this is going to be 48. What will be 4 seconds? You can tell based on the number increasing, if my 3 seconds is 48, I'm not going to pick anything less than 48. Therefore, I'm going to pick this. So A is the right answer. But it's actually a linear function. You can find the gradient based on what? If you pick two numbers, 48 minus 32 over 3 minus 2, your gradient is 16. That means f of x is equal to what? 16x. And our y-intercept has to be 0, is the beginning, right? So this is 0. Therefore, our function is what? 16x. And therefore, we can plot in 4 here and we can get the answer right away. Common sense approach, you can see this is a straightforward, and you shouldn't mix this question. If you miss this question, you can't yourself cooked. Question 2, what do we have? XY plane with the slope. I've given you your m is equal to 4, and the line passes through this point, 0, 6. This, by looking at this, if I give you 0, 6, you know this is x and y, right? If x is 0, y is 6. That's your intercept, y-intercept. So based on just looking at this question, I can draw the graph without even thinking. I know I have to have y is equal to mx plus c. Bring your knowledge. You know, they've given you the gradient. You put it there for x. And these points give you y-intercept. You don't have to even calculate any. I'll put 6 here. And therefore, your function is y is equal to what? 4x plus 6. Therefore, which one is the right answer? As you can see, it's staring at you, and this is D. D is the right answer. You can see, you can eliminate it because they've given you the gradient. And the intercept is 6. It can't be negative here. It has to be positive. And therefore, D is your right answer. Expression is equivalent to that. There's a strategy. When the SAT said it's equivalent, that means these two equations, they are equal. One is simplified, the other one is not simplified. How do you approach it? Look at the answers. You can see that x has been factored out. That means we got to factor x out. And therefore, I'm looking at is the common factor between them is x raised to 3. Based on that, I'm going to eliminate A and D. I'm left with this. Now, is the 5, 6, and 8, can you factor them? No, there's no way you can factor them. And therefore, you can tell that this cannot be the right answer, because if you multiply 8 by 5, you get 40. There's no 40 here. And the right answer has to be this. And it's equivalent to that. So B is your right answer. Common sense approach, this should take you less than 5 seconds. Question 4. X plus Y 1440 represent the number of minutes in daylight and the number of minutes in non-daylight at a certain place in Illinois. If this day has 670 minutes of daylight, how many minutes of non-daylight does this have? It's just an equation they've given you. They said x plus y is equal to what? 1440, where x is what? Daylight, and y non-daylight. That's all. And they're telling you this equation, the 670 is daylight. Therefore, our daylight is 670 plus y. is equal to what? 1440. How many minutes of non-daylight is that? It's an equation. It's a straightforward equation. All they want you to do is just simplify. That means we're going to calculate our y. Our y is 1400 minus 670. Well, you have Desmos here. It's going to help you easily. 670. And this gives you what? 770. Right answer over there. Scott selected 20 employees in a random from a 400 employees at a certain company. That means the company has 400 people. And then we selected just 20 people because we want to do a study. This is a population study. We found out that 16 of the employee in this sample are enrolled in exactly 3 professional development courses per this year. Therefore, 16 of these people, they have 3 professional courses, right? This year. Based on the Scott finding, which of the following is the best estimate of the number of employees at the company who are enrolled exactly 3 professional development courses? We're dealing with 3 professional development courses. The way they ask this question, they try to confuse you, but actually they're on your side. They tell you 400 people in a population. We can use all the 400. Therefore, we take a small sample. So this is the population. I cut a little bit of it, small sample of it, and I study it. When I finish, I'm going to compare it to the larger population to make an estimate. This is how they do what we call poll. They take a small portion of the city and they interview them and they say, hey, they want to vote for this president. And they say, oh, this all county will vote for this president, even though they don't select you. That's estimation. That's how they estimate those information. Same thing. 400 people, there's 20 we took out of it. Out of 20, 16 people usually take professional course, 3 of them. How can we estimate? Well, 16 over 20 is our ratio. That's the easy way to think about it. And what is that percentage? Well, easy way to think about it is 16 over 20. And that's 8%. 8% of them in that small population. Compared to a larger population, I'm going to multiply common sense wise by the whole population, 0.8. And that will give me 320. And that's your right answer. There's other way you can do it. You can use ratio, but this is the easy way. Find the actual percentage of people who take 3 courses and then multiply it to the whole population. And therefore, right answer is B. 7 into bracket 2x minus 3 is equal to 63. Which equation has the same solution as the given equation? There's so many ways you can do it. Most people will grab Desmos, right? But I want you to think about it. Before you grab Desmos, it will take you a longer time using Desmos than this. This is straightforward. It's staring. The answer choices will pop out like a candy. Which equation has the same solution as the given equation? Solve the equation, look at it, and see which one is equivalent to that. Based on what they've given you, I can tell you they don't want you to use Desmos. They know that. They know that if you divide both sides by 7, you're going to get what? 2x minus 3 is equal to 9. Do you see 2x minus 3 is equal to 9? It's right there. Number 1, staring at you like that. The given equation relates to the positive numbers CP and K, right? And they say which equation correctly expresses C in terms of PQ. When they say that, that means simplify C and let C stand on its own. Well, I see C here is already on your own. I take C here, it will be plus 7. And see if there's anything that look like that, right? So I have C, 25, P, plus K, plus 7. Well, all of them start with C. I have 25p. This is gone. This is gone. 25p, 25p. I have k plus. Therefore, A is the right answer. Function P estimates the what? The population about 2,000 animal in 1998. So in 1998, the population what is 2,000, where P is estimating a value. Each year from 1998 to 2010, the population estimates that the number of animals in this population will increase by 3%. So if we go in 2010, this is going to increase by 3%. Of the animal, 3% of the number of animals in the population of the previous year. That means the previous year population plus 3%, right? which equation defines the population, where P of X is the estimated number of animals in the population after 1998. After 1998, that's the baseline. So think about it. Don't freak out. Okay. First, you got to find your rate because you know it's a percentage. The percentage give it away. This make it exponential. If they says a change is going to happen specific amount, like 2,000 people is added every year, that is a linear function. But when you see percentage and ratio, that's exponential function. Therefore, think about it. If we have this situation, X is P of S. At a certain time, 0, we have 2,000 people. Well, 1 year later, we're going to have 2,000 people plus 3%, right? 3% is what? The 3% increase is 1.03. Why? Because you got to add your initial percentage plus the 3%, which is 0.03. And therefore, you're going to have 1.03. Very, very important that you don't forget. And therefore, you can think and you can see that we have initial population of 2,000. And then the rate is 1.03 for every change in S of time. And therefore, P of X is this population. This is not going to happen. The other way to think about it, this is an exponential growth. Therefore, if I'm looking at an answer choice, I'm picking a growth answer. We are told that it's 3%, not 3. Even if you're thinking about just 3% without adding the 1%, this is eliminated, common sense wise. And therefore, this is standing alone. 3%, you are not subtracting 3 from 100. You are adding it. Therefore, this is also gone. And you're left with this. This is the way I want you to think about every question. You can analyze them algebraically and pick an answer, common sense. SAT, too easy, right? Board want you to pass. Therefore, stay with that strategy in your mind. Whenever you see a question, that's the idea. Question 9, which expression is equivalent to that? We already talked about it. Equivalency means they are the same, but expressed in different way. The best is to look at this and compare it to that. And I see that all the answers start with S raised to 4. That means I got to convert this into S raised to 4. That means I got to expand it. And then you have to expand this. Unfortunately, you can't use Desmos. How do you do this? You know your 4, right? Based on that, you know that this is going to be X raised to 4, the middle number, right? 2 times the middle number, you're going to have 22X plus the last number multiplied by each other, 121. Plus, I see plus and negative, same numbers. This is a perfect square. This is going to be S squared minus 25. These are some of the things you have to see and then picture it quickly. S raised to 4 plus 23 S squared plus 96. And B is your right answer. You're just converting each number so that it matches each other as much as possible. And you may see this kind of question, they're just testing your algebra. An egg is thrown from the rooftop. The egg is here, thrown from the rooftop. And you have this equation, quadratic. It's supposed to come down. That's why it looks like that. Parabola. Represent this equation. H is the height of the egg above the ground in meters per second after it's thrown. After the egg is thrown from here up, H is the height. According to the equation, what is the height in meters from which the egg was thrown? Look at it. This is the keyword, from which the egg was thrown. That's the time when the egg was thrown. At t is equal to 0, it's asking you initially when it was thrown, what was the height? T is equal to 0. This is something like you have to conceptualize it. It did not ask you for the maximum. It's asking you the height from which it was thrown. We don't know. Was it thrown right at the bottom or here? The guy who's holding it is holding it here and throw it. I'm just drawing you that there's a height. We can assume that it was thrown from a certain height here. And this is the height at which it was achieved after it was thrown. Therefore, the action is to calculate this. That's t is equal to 0. And this is a parabola. There's a concept SAT wants you to know. Don't grab Desmos for this. This is straightforward. When T is equal to 0. HT, all this is gone, all this is gone. And you can see that this is 18. You can put this in Desmos, but I don't feel the need, right? But I can show you. It's straightforward, right? If you put it in Desmos, it's the same thing. You can also plot this in Desmos, but you have to make sure you're looking for what? The y-intercept. So we're going to plot this in Desmos, and we're going to use S instead of T. Desmos does not like variables that it cannot recognize. So I'm going to put S squared here plus 9x plus 18. And you can see this is what the function we have. And then 18 is the y-intercept. The other way you can tell is you can say, no, s is equal to 0. So I'm going to put s is equal to 0. And you can see that's the intersection. The blue line intersect over here, and our y is 18. And that's a straightforward question that you should be able to get it, even though it look complex. That's easy. 11 is my favorite because they're testing certain concept. Most students who can score over 700 mixed points because of this kind of question. Not because they did not solve the question, it's because of the input of the question. Watch it, 6x. This is where they get into trouble. I have 4 into square root of 2x is equal to 16. You can put this in Desmos, you got to break down the equation. But look, this is a simple algebra, common sense question. Just solve it with your hand. You don't need any calculator to do this for you, right? Divide both sides by 4. You're going to get square root of 2x, and you have 4. You get rid of the square root, you have 2s is equal to 16. S is equal to 8. That's all. You're done. Well, are you going to pick 8? Luckily, there's no 8 here. The right answer is 6 times 8. So 6 times x, which is what? 48. And that's the right answer. But these are some of the things you may mix. Luckily, they don't put 6 here. So you got to make sure you multiply the answer trace by that. Also input this in Desmos, but I don't encourage you to do that because this is a straightforward question. But to do that, you got to break the function into 2. So 4 square root of 2x. And then I have y is equal to 16. And wherever they intersect will be your right answer. They intersect here. You have 8, 16 right there. So your answer choice is 8. But remember, we're looking for 6 times what? X. X is 8 here. So we multiply 6 times 8, you get 48. The same way to do that. This is how you can use Desmos to solve this question. The relationship between two variables, x and y, in linear form. For every increase in the value of x by 1, the value of y increases by what? 8. When the value of x is 2, the y value is what? 18. I don't know, but I can tell you this is a linear function. I have y is equal to m and x. And they said every time you go up on the x, the y is going to increase by what? Y. A change in y and a change in x is going to be what? 8 over 1. This is your slope. Don't make it so difficult. They've given you your slope. If I have my slope, then it's easy for me to form a function. They said when y is 18, my x, I know my slope is 8x plus, I don't know my c. That's all, right? But my x is what? 2, value of 2. Put it here, right? That's the thing. So I have 8 minus 16 is equal to what? C. Your C is 2. That's your constant. That's the change. Therefore, I'm looking for a gradient of 8. This is gone, and this is gone. Don't even have to calculate y-intercept. Based on the gradient, we can pick this one easily. Question 13. This is a trap question. SAT want to trap you. They don't want you to get a perfect score. S squared minus is equal to minus 841. How many rare distinct solution does it exist? Distinct solution means it does not matter to the question. It means, is there any solution, rare solution that exists, right? But think about it. You cannot multiply any number that will give you a negative number. That's all. I can multiply a number that will give me a negative number. Therefore, this is a zero solution. There is no solution that can satisfy. You can check your answer choice in Desmos and you say, okay, y is equal to x squared. Boom. You have your graph. Well, y is equal to what? Minus 841. And where is my slider? You see, the graph is gone. I'm going to take a slider and show you what, so far as I'm in the negative zone, I'm not seeing any intersection. But when I get to the positive zone, closer as I come to 0, and then we have a solution. That tells you that there's no solution for this graph. No way, unless there's a positive number. And this is not true. This is an easy question if you know what to do with it. Question 14. 2 box plots shows the distribution of number of books read over the summer of a student in 2 different English classes. What is the difference between the range between the number of books read over the summer for the 2 classes? So class A, class B. When you see a box plot, basically this is the distribution. Here is the minimum and here is the maximum. So the range is usually defined by what? Maximum minus the minimum. This is the median, the middle number, and then different percentages. This is the 25%, this is 50%. Here is 75%. But to find the range, look at the graph and you can find it. Here, class 1 is 0, and then the maximum is 5. So the range is 5. Here, B, you have 1 and 10. So 10 minus 1 is 9. Therefore, 9 minus 5 is 4. The difference between them is very important, that you answer the questions you're being asked, not just the number. That's the difference. And therefore, this answer choice is 4. Of the edge of the base of a right square prism is 6 units. The volume of the prism is 2880 cubic unit. What is the height in unit of the prism? This, you can find the formula in your formula provided to you by the College Board. It's straightforward. The volume is usually the length times the width times the height. But you know the length times the width is the same because it's a square. And therefore, 36 times the height is the volume. Volume, height is equal to volume over 36. And then you can put your answer choice, 2880 over 36. And we can let Desmos do his job by putting the information in Desmos. And this will give you 80 right there. Straightforward answer choice. And so D is your right answer. The plot showed the relationship between 2 variables, x and y. An equation of the exponential model shown below. A, b to the power x, where a and b are positive integers. Which of the following is closest to the value below? Just by looking at it, they want you to find b. You don't need to do any calculation. Let me show you. This is a decay. As you go, x increases, the y decreases. As x moves it like that, the y decreases. Therefore, we have a decay. If we have a decay, the a and b is what is the rate that is controlling everything. This representing the actual decay. It has to be less than 1. If it has to be less than 1, this is all wrong. You got to pick A. That's the easy way to answer this question. You don't need a calculator or anything like that. This is also straightforward. I don't know why this question was asked, but basically they want to give you a 3 point. They give you a right angle triangle based on that, and it's a find cos. So cosine is what? Adjacent over hypotenuse, right? Based on this angle, the adjacent is here, hypotenuse is here, so 11 over 28. This function is equal to 0. What is the positive solution for the given equation? Well, somebody will try and put this in Desmos, but look, straightforward. If this equation is equal to 0, use the product rule. The product rule, that means this is equal to 0, this is equal to 0, this is equal to 0. Based on that, x is equal to -2, 5, and -9. It's asking you about positive solution. Therefore, 5 is your right answer. A little bit challenging, but it's straightforward. Look at a triangle. You have a triangle. If they're giving to you, you don't know what kind of triangle, but in the figure below, x, the view x and x, y, there's intersection by q. YQ is 63. So YQ is 63 here. WQ is 70. And the WX is 60. So WX is 60. And XQ is 120. What is the length of YZ? Just by looking at it, you see this angle is the same thing as this angle. Just by that, I know, based on what is written, that this is also similar. This angle is equal to that. And therefore, if A and B, A and these two angles are the same, my third angle should also be the same. So all the angles are basically congruent to each other. The sides, this tell me this is a similar triangle, but you don't even have to know that it's a similar triangle. It does not matter. And therefore, you can find the side of this by using ratio, right? But when you're picking ratio, make sure you pick the same side. The 63 here correspond to the 70 here. The YZ also correspond to the 60 here. Therefore, we can put this in Desmos and then can solve it for us in terms of the ratio. So Desmos will calculate for me 63 divided by 70 using tilde. I will say x1 divided by 60, and that will give me 54. So our side is 54. Question 20. G is a function defined by this, where t is a constant. In the xy plane, the y is equal to g of s passes through this point. What is g of s? There's so many ways you can do this. Some people will put this in Desmos and do regression, but this answer choice is straightforward. If you write the equation, you can see that something is staring at you right away. And then you can input the information. You don't have to waste too much time, right? Desmos will do the same thing, but this is your key money point. I said common sense 24-0 means y is equal to 0. I put here 0 and I put 24 so that I can find my t. If you find your t, the question they're asking you is easy. I put 24 minus 24, right? Therefore, if two numbers are equal to 0, then both of them should be equal to 0. That's all. What is that? This is 38 is equal to t minus 24. That means 38 is equal to 0, or t minus 24 is equal to 0. Therefore, t has to be 24. If t is equal to 24, based on the fact, now we found t. If g is equal to 0, well, this will be equal to 14 multiplied by t. And t is equal to what? 24. So 14 times 24. And this will give you 336. Of course, you can plot this in Desmos. You just need to separate the two functions into two. Well, when g is 24, we have what? 0. Now, when f of x is the other function, which is x plus 14, t minus x. Now, we're going to regress g of 24 to f of x. And we get this. And what we're going to do, because x is 1 is saying is 1, we just have to get some random number. So we're going to put 0, 0, 10, and that will give you our t is 24. After you find your actual t, and then I can say f of 0 is going to be what? 336. And that's how you do it. The number of zebras in the population of 2018 is 1.27 times the number of zebra in the population of that. When you're reading word problem, just convert it mathematically as you go along. It become easier. So zebra in 2018 is 1.27 of zebra in 2014. And say the number of zebra in the population in 2014. So 2014 is p% of what? The number of zebra in 2018. What is p% at the value of p in the nearest whole number? All you need to do is express the function so that you'll be able to isolate it. This is telling you that the P, I got to make sure I have two Z18 together, and then I equate the function. This is the same. If you convert this to Z18, it's equivalent to 1 over P% times Z14. This new equation, it resembles our original equation, which is Z18. It's equal to 1.27 Z14. If this is equal to that and this is equal to that, they are equivalent, then you can regress this. 1 over P% is equal to 1.27. That means P% is equal to 1 over 1.27. Percent is the same thing as P over 100, 1 over 0.2757. And therefore, this is equal to 100 over 1.27. And then you can put that in Desmos, and you get 100 divided 1.27. And that's 78.74. But the question say the value of P to the nearest whole number. And that's the actual function you can use. And therefore, P, the value of P is 78.7 to the nearest whole number. This is going to be 79. And then make sure you convert it into the right form. But the idea is to write the equation, make the equation equivalent, and then the rest is algebra. Of course, you can use regression to solve this, and then you can try to figure out with that. And let's try if we can do that. So you can use Desmos to solve this question easily. I'll show you a trick. You got to define certain function. X1 has to be the population for 2018. And then X2 has to be the population for 2014. And so we're going to do the regression. I would say X1 is the initial population, is for 1.27 times the number of population in 2014. So, and then the X2 is the population in 2014. So I put X2 here. Then you do your regression. It's what? 1.27 of X2 initially. And then what? P% of X1. And that will give you your right answer. P is 78.7. And then you convert it to 1 decimal point, which is what? 79. And this is the easy way to solve it with Desmos if you want to use that route. But that's a straightforward question. Question 22 is not that difficult. It depends on if you know translation of circles. A circle A is defined by this equation. So you have x plus 2 all square plus y square is equal to 9. Circle B, not shown, is the result of a shift of A down 6 units, right? It goes down 6 units and increases in radius so that the radius of B is 2 times the radius of A. Well, let's do the radius. The radius of A is actually square root of 9. And if this is 2 times, this is going to be 2 times the square root of 9. And then if you square both, you're going to get 4, 9. And so based on that, I have 9 and 4. I'm looking at the answer choices. I'm going to eliminate this and left. Like I said, common sense. I'm left with A and B. Now, if I'm going down from here, my center is what? -2 and 0. If I'm shifting down by 6 units, well, the center, the x value is going to remain the same. So which is going to be x plus. So if I look at the answer left, it's still the same. But what is the issue here? I got to deal with the 6, right? The 6 is a shift down. And therefore, what do you think is the most important? You got to add 6 because the center is -2 -6 if I'm going down. But when you put it in the equation to get -6, it's going to be plus because this is plus. So I'm going to have x plus 2 and x plus 6. And therefore, A is the right answer, not this one. And this is the right answer. So be careful. Sometimes they will trip you, but this is the way to finish the Model 1 in flying colors. expect the question to get harder. As usual, when you go to model 2, question get harder, but it's actually not, right? A manager is responsible for ordering. It starts the same quietly. Ordering supply for a shave ice shop. Shop inventory starts with what? 400 of paper cups. And the manager estimates that 70 of these paper cups are used each day. So we're using 70 paper cup, and then we have 450, 4,500 paper cup total. Based on these estimates, how many days would we take to use paper cup? You don't even have to think. This is a linear function. 0, number of paper cup, right? You start 0 with 45, 0, 0. Well, every day is going to go down by 70 because that's what we're using. So you subtract 70 from here. Next one, you subtract 70 from here, and you keep on subtracting 70. You can find how long it would take to have what? 1700. You can plot the function. They've given you the slope. Your slope is the 70. It's going to change every 70. The manager estimates that 70 of these paper cups are used each day. Therefore, your slope is actually 70 because it's decreasing by 70. Then I'm going to have 1700. That's the value I want to get to, 7x. And my initial one is 450. That's all. You can plot the graph, and Desmos will give you the answer. So we're going to put it in Desmos for our function, and this should be easy, right? I want 1700. Is he regressing to what? 70x 1 plus 450. Your right answer is 40. Of course, you can get a negative number. You can figure out that because of the way it's written, but you can get a negative number. And so right answer is have to be 40. In a triangle RST, I don't know what kind of shape, right angle triangle, I don't know. So I know RST. The measure of R is 63. Which of the following could be? That means it can be any of these numbers. It doesn't mean it has to be exactly. They want you to find approximate number, right? 63. But you know that the total angle has to be 180. Therefore, if I put this here, X, I put Y. So X plus Y plus 63 is equal to 180, right? That means X plus Y should be equal to what? You subtract this from that, it's 117. That should give you a clue that if you had two numbers together, this is an interesting question. You have to draw it, but it's straightforward. You got to think logically. You have a triangle. I don't know what it is, right? I have R, S, T. And they're telling me the measure of R is 63. I don't know here. I'll put A and B. But I know the total of 63 plus A plus B should be equal to 180. That means A plus B should be equal to 117. If these two numbers are adding up to 117, they cannot be greater than 117. You cannot get a negative angle. Therefore, just by looking at it conceptually, it has to be A. So A could be 117 and the other one will be 1 degrees. But it never happened. But that's based on the question. It could be. It cannot be 18. 118 is greater than actual total. And therefore, your right answer is A. This is what I say. Common sense questions. Don't panic. You will learn them. Interesting question. I want you to solve it this way. This is the easiest. They give you a function. Y is greater than that. That means when you plot it, the shaded area will be above that number, right? Most people will put this in Desmos and then they find the point. I think the easy way is to plot your own point. If I'm going to be above, well, the number is 2, 4, 6, which is the same, should be greater than the value that I have here. That's all. So if I put here 2 here, I'm going to get what? 8, 16. The number 16 here. I put 4 here. 4 times 4 is 16 plus 8. I'm going to get 24. And if I use the 6, I'm going to get 32. So I'm looking at numbers where all this is greater. Here you can see this number is greater than the X, X, and X. If you look this is less numbers. If you look this, it's also less. If you look this, it's less than what I've got. What they've calculated, it may be within or below, but my numbers, all of them remain above the level. Therefore, A is the right answer. That's the easy way to this question. The function f is defined by this. For which of the value of s does f of s is equal to 5? This sometimes can be very confusing when they ask you this question. Think about it. What are they asking you? They've given you this equation. This looks like a linear equation. And they say, what is the value of s? That will give you that. That means they've given you y. And they've given you this function. So you want to find the value of x that will give you y is equal to 5. This is as Desmos all over it, right? So I'm going to put f of s is equal to that function, 9/7 plus 8/7. And that's the function. So, and now I'm going to put y is equal to what? 5. And wherever they intersect, it's right here, 3 and 5. I'm looking for the value of x, and x is equal to 3. You see, this is the beauty of Desmos and how beautiful Desmos can do this question for you. So not the value of y, but if you look here, we have 3 and 5, x is equal to 3. That will give you a value of f of x is equal to 5. Straightforward. During a portion of a flight, a small airplane cruising speed is between 150, the speed, and 170 miles per hour. That's cruising. Inequality between, which inequality represents the situation where s is the cruising speed in miles per hour during the flight? Well, if they're cruising, they're between 150 and 170. And therefore, this is it. This look like a trap. But you think you got to do something. You don't have to do the word cruising. This is an English verbal question, but you think you got to do a bunch of math. It's a cruising speed is between 150 and 170. Well, cruising speed is still 150 and 170. This is cruising speed. I'm picking it and I'm moving on. You don't have to do anything. The graph modeled the number of active projects a company was working on X month, a certain amount. This is the X value. Always representing this. So this is the X month after the end of November, okay, after the November 2012, where X is this. According to the model, what is the preferred number of active projects the company was working on at the end of November 2012? You don't have to do too much. If you don't read it, sometimes when you see these long questions, the answer choice is in the verbal. Common sense strategy. SAT does not want you to fail it. This is it. At the end of November, the questions start with X at the end of November. Well, these start at 0 at the end of November. 5 right here. Answer choice 5. Don't panic. It's right there in front of you, staring at you. In the linear function h, this is the value. H of 28 is 15. H of 26 is 22. Which equation defines h? This is a beauty of Desmos. And you can see they've given you a point. When they give you h of something, it means point. Just plot it, x and y. When I have 28, I have 15. When I have 26, I have 22. Well, I'm going to plot it in Desmos and let Desmos grab it. So I grab my point and table. I say 28, I have 15. I have 26, I have 22. And then I plot it. It said, which function defined that intercept 113 to intercept, this is a negative gradient. You have two negative gradients. So which one are you going to pick? 2/7 of that. Well, I don't know which one is it. So you're going to put, well, they're tricky. They try to put this in fraction because they know you're going to use Desmos. Tell them, well, you know what to do. You tell Desmos, what is 3.5? Well, fraction of that is 7/2. And therefore, the right answer is C. Sometimes when you see this question, they know what you're going to do, but they want you to work for it to get your answer choice. This is the same thing. The table showed the linear relationship between the number of cars, C, on a commuter train and maximum number of passengers, P, that the train can carry. Which equation represents the linear relationship between C and P? Well, just draw the thing and make sure you follow the function they've given you. The X is the normal, and the Y is what is telling you the maximum number of passengers. So when you put in your function, just make sure you represent it. Therefore, I'm going to draw this, and I said, okay, what do I have? 3, 5, and 10 is giving me 174, 284, 559. When you plot it, you have this function. Now, make sure you represent each other. The Y is what? Based on what they've given you. The maximum number of passengers in the crew, which is what? He said the maximum number of passengers and the crew is P. So you have P is equal to 55 and C plus 9. Well, I look at it, none of them are in this form. We're just going to simplify to make sure we matches that. We know 55P does not exist, so I'm going to eliminate this. We got to deal with the 55. The two answers, the 55C is positive, but the P is negative. So I'm going to put 9 negative 55C, and then this is going to be negative P, and therefore the right answer is A. We've been given this quadratic equation. Which of the following is the solution of the equation? Based on the answers, you can't factorize this. You got to look at it and say, common sense, I can't factorize. Maybe I got to be bailed out by Desmos. So I'm going to use S squared. And then I'm going to plot everything to 12x minus 40. And you get two functions, answer choice. You can see, basically, I'm going to use the values they've given me and calculate what would they give me. 2 square root of 19. And this gives you minus 271. But our answer choice is what? 721. That means this looks the same as that. That means it has to be D. And let's confirm it. Minus 6 plus 2 square root of 19. And you give you 2.71. And this is 2.71. And therefore, this is the right answer. D is the right answer. Question 10. What is the y coordinate of the y-intercept of the graph of that? This is a tricky question. They ask you for y coordinate. They want you to find x and y. So y-intercept, you expect the x to be 0 and your y has to have a certain value. That's what you're looking for. But they give you this in not the standard form. It's okay. We can have Desmos to do that. Desmos can do this for you. All you need to do, just do a little bit of work. I can do minus 5 over 9, and then 3x over 7 minus 21. You can send the negative sign there. It does not matter. This is enough for Desmos to figure out that this is a negative graph. Therefore, minus 5y divided by 9 is equal to 3x over 7 minus 21. And then our y-intercept is this, not your s-intercept. So this is what we have. That's the value. And it's true because we have a bunch of fraction numbers. So that's why this is like that. So the coordinate is 0, 37.8. That's all you're supposed to put down. What system of linear equation is represented by the line shown? You have a bunch of 4 lines. You want to make sure it meets the criteria of that. And they have what? All of them have x-intercept at 8. The easy way is to put in Desmos. You don't have to solve them in the normal form, in the y is equal to ms plus c. Desmos is very smart. It can figure out that this is a linear function. So just give him the numbers and it will do it. You see, it gave you this. Y-intercept is what? X-intercept is 4. Therefore, I know one of them. I'm not trying the rest of them anymore. I'm going to the next one. 8x minus 4y is equal to 32. What do I get? I get 9 point that. I'm not trying that one. You see, just try one numbers, and then if you fail, you move on to the next one. And y is equal to 32. And this is a positive number. We're supposed to get a negative. Just by that, I know that answer choice D is the right answer. This is the way you take this test using a common sense strategy that you know by default, D has to be the right answer, but you got to check it quickly and then you can get your right answer. Just by that, you can see A0, D is your right answer. You don't have to do anything. Question 12. The solution to the given system of equations x and y. What is the value of 6x minus 2? This is one question. I look at it and I said, why would they say it? It's because they want you to do some work. They know, you know the stuff. They don't want you to use Desmos for this. Because look, x minus 2, the answer choice, the question has x minus 2. And they give you negative and positive. Why? They know if you add this, this is gone. They make it so easy for you. So let's just do that. We have 2x minus 2. And then when you add this, it's straightforward. It's just going to add it for you, and you get the answer choice right away. You get 5, 5, 9. Now, how can I make this into that? Just multiply by 3. That's all. And you have 6 into bracket x minus 2. And this times 5, 5, 9 times 3. That's all. And if you have a calculator, well, why don't you put in the calculator and get the right answer so that you don't make a mistake? 3. And this gives you 1677. And then just input the function. Why would you put this in the system? Because if you put in Desmos, it will give you x, and you have to do 6x minus 2. It's unnecessary. Sometimes you can solve this question easily with algebra. We're doing what? Model 2 of practice test 6. You can see these are all questions you should be familiar with. Thus, what is the minimum value of a given function? You don't have to think. Just put it in Desmos, because the minimum, based on what they've given you, is going to be opening up, and the vectors, you get it from the vector. So f of x is equal to what? It's equal to x squared minus 4, 8x plus 2, 3, 0, 4. And your minimum value is a very small graph. It's right here. And it's 1728. They're asking you the minimum value of the given function. So the x is not the minimum value, it's the y. Be careful. So 1728 is the minimum value. Don't pick x. They know you will pick x and you get it wrong. These are little points you're going to lose if you overthink it. How many solutions that the given equation have? This is also a free point if you overthink it. In a linear equation, this is a linear equation. As you can see, there is no x squared there, so it's x. That means they have different gradients. If they have different gradients, they're going to intersect. Therefore, they're going to have exactly one solution. That's all. They cannot be infinitely many solutions because they are not equal to each other. The numbers are not the same. If you have 48x is equal to 48x, yes, then that's the problem. So this is exactly one solution. You should not be worried. You should not overthink it. You can plot this in Desmos. If you want to know what it is, you can just plot it in Desmos. And what you do, you got to separate them. It becomes two functions. Basically, y is equal to minus 49x. And then another y is equal to minus 98x. And wherever they're going to intersect, that's where you're going to have your function. But as you can see, this is not necessary. All you need to do is to look at it. It's exactly one solution. The function g is defined by this. The value of g7 minus w is 0. where w is equal to that. So when all these function is equal to 0, right? What is the sum of all the solution? That means there's possible solutions of all. They're just trying to see if you know your algebra, because if you don't do it well, you get it wrong. And so this is the actual function, right? And it said g of 7 minus w, where here I put g minus 7 minus w. So wherever I see x, that's where I put the function. That is all. You put that information, 7 minus w there. It's annoying, but that's the function. 7 minus w minus 2. Same thing. 7 minus w plus 6. Just be patient and then go through it. This is a free point. I have 7 minus w, and then I have 7. This will be 5 minus w. This is also what? 13 minus w square. But this is where the concept comes in. If all this is equal to 0, that means this is equal to 0. W is 7. That means this is w is 5. So you're thinking as you go through, that means when you solve this, w is also going to be 13. If you add all of them, you get 25. This is the product rule, right? You're using the product rule to calculate it. That if multiple numbers going to multiply to each other and give you 0, this is equal to 0, that's 7. This is equal to 0, that's 5. This is equal to 0, that's 13. If you add all of them, you get 25, and your right answer is 25. This is a word problem. When you're reading word problems, sometimes you got to figure out what they want you to think about. Sometimes you can read a question from the back and you see what exactly they're asking you. Calculating a maple tree, right? That given that the tree is what, 20 feet. So maple tree that is 20 feet and is tall, is 20 feet and taller. So a grove have 6 rows of birch trees. So there's 6 of the birch tree, 5 rows of what? Maple tree, right? 5 of the 5 rows. Each row of the birch tree contain as what? 8 trees that are taller than 20 feet, and then 6 trees that are shorter than 20 feet. So there's 8 that is tall, 20 feet. And then 6 that are shorter, they're less than 20 feet, right? Each row of the maple tree has 9. So the 9 of them are taller than 20 and 7 are shorter than 20. So this is 20, right? Feet. A tree from one of these rows will be selected at random. What is the probability of selecting a maple tree? So we're dealing with maple tree, right? And if there's 9 rows, what do you think? That's the thing. That's what is going to kill you if you don't pay attention to that. If there's 9 rows of them, then that becomes very, very important. 9 times 5 is 45, right? And then if there's 6 row of birch tree by 8 taller, this is also 48. Therefore, for total of 48 and 45 are trees that are taller, 20 feet and above. Therefore, 93, right? That's the total. How many of them will be what? Maple tree. Well, you can see that a maple tree is 45 over 93. And that's your right answer. Where I look at the answer choice, well, there's no 93 and 45. What is the problem? Well, 15 can go into this. 3 can go into this 15 times, and 3 can go into 31 times. So I have 15 here and 31. So I have 15 over 31. What is the right answer? C. But it's inscribed in the circle. So if this is the circle, you have a rectangle inscribed in it like that, such that the vertices of the rectangle lie on the circumference of the circle. The diagonal of the vectors is twice. So the diagonal of the rectangle is twice the length of the shortest side. So this is the shortest side. This is 2x. The area of the rectangle is this, 1089 square root what is the length of the diameter of the circle? You're trying to find the diameter of the circle. Very, very important. What is the length in diameter of the circle, which is equivalent to this length? That's the length he's trying to find. But you know that these are all 90 degrees, right? Based on that, and this is x and this is 2x, that should tell you something, that this side has to be what? X square root of 3, right? You based on your triangle 30-60 rule, this has to be x square root of 3. If you want to verify, well, I can calculate x squared plus y squared, that length is equal to 2s squared, right? This y squared is going to be 4s squared. Therefore, this will be 3s squared. Therefore, y is x square root of 3. And that's 30-60 rule angle. So based on that, we can find it. But we told that the area is that. Therefore, of the rectangle is that. Therefore, length times breadth, right? Therefore, this is the same thing as what? X times square root of 3 will give you that. This is going to cancel each other, right? And you have square root is equal to what? 1089. X is equal to square root of 1089. And we can put this in Desmos and it can calculate it for us. So you have square root of 1089. And this is 33. Is 33 your answer? No. If you pick it, you wasted all the time. You get x is equal to 33. And then you decided to do something else. The work you've done, don't lose this point. The diameter of the circle is equivalent to the diagonal. And for the diagonal is 2x. And therefore your answer choice is 66. Be careful, don't lose point. Easy point on this kind of question. Straightforward. Question 18. A positive number A is 22.41 of the sum of B plus C. And they said B is also 0.83 of C. What percent of B is A, right? So A is what percent of B? I don't know, but I can make sure I can equate these values together so that I get the right answer. B is that percent. So I'm going to put B here, and then C will equate each other. That's the easy way we can do that. So what do? B is 0.38 C. Why don't we substitute that value? Therefore, C is equal to what? B over 0.3. If you put it here, you're going to get A is equal to 2241. Where is B? I put B is already there. And then C is B over 0.83. This is just algebra, trying to solve algebra. What are you going to do? Now, you know A is equal to percent of B. The same thing, try to equate them such that we can substitute B and then we can solve for B. What is B? This is simplify B out, right? If you simplify B, you get 2.41 B. Let's go to 1 plus 1 over 0.83, right? And this, you can solve it. You can solve it in Desmos. Let Desmos solve it first. So 1 plus 1 over 0.883 is 2.2, right? That value is 2. So all is 2.2. 2.2 times 22.4. 22.4. 1 times 2.2. This gives you 49.30. This is an approximation, right? If you use the whole value, it will give you something else. So we can use probably 2.2 0.048 in order not to be get into trouble. And then we multiply it by 22.41. Now we have 49.41, right? So 49.41 of B. So that value A is equal to 49.41 of B. And they're asking you for percentage. Remember, don't pick this. This is wrong. Asking you for percentage. Therefore, it's going to be 4941%. And that is the answer choice. But it depends on how you're going to do it. There can be so many ways you can do it. You can even use Desmos to do that. To put our bracket, regressing, and then we put it here. First, we say what? A is what? 2241% of what? A sum of B plus C. That's the first thing. Then we said B is what? 83% of C. Then the third function is what? A is what percent of B? So that means you got to pick a certain number, P% of B. And you can see the answer is what? 4941. Straightforward. It calculated for us, but you have to see how it works. And this is the actual function. A is 2241% of B plus C. B is what? 83% of C. And A is what? P%, a certain percent of B. And it calculates what A and B and P for us. And the P is 4941. Straightforward. And this is the way Desmos can help you calculate this. Like I said, whichever you're comfortable, that's the way you should do it. In a given system of equation, P is a constant. If the system has no solution, what is the value of P? This is something that Desmos can solve easily. You don't have to change anything. If he has no solution, gradients are the same. Therefore, you're going to have a parallel line. They're not going to intercept. You don't have to do any fancy calculation. Just type the equation the way it is. I prefer not to do anything about it, and it will solve it for you. So far as you input the right equation, right? 4/7, and then I have -7/8y. And the next equation, 5/4x x 7/4 is equal to py plus 15/4. A slider. And then move your slider. You can see it's coming back. And then I would say 3.5 is average based on that. If I go backward, it go across it. If I go back, so close to 3.5. And you can make sure you have the right answer by moving back and forth. So we go with 3.5. You've been given this table. This table shows 3 values correspond to g of x, which is that. The g of x is a function of f of x. So g of x is f of x, and you have x plus 3. In the where f is what is a linear function. So that's very, very important. So this is mx plus c. What is the y-intercept of the graph of f of x in the plane? So you got to calculate f of x. You can change the graph in the form of f of x. So f of s is equal to what? X plus 3 g of x. And then plot a new function by taking the value of x. So if x is equal to -27, you put it here. -27 plus 3, and the g of x multiplied by 3, right? And this we're going to give you a new function of y, of f of x. I feel like it's tedious. It's easy based on what they've given you. I tell Desmos, We're going to put the whole function x plus 3, right? And then we plot our graph given, the point given 2, 7, 3, minus 9, 0, 21, 5. And when you plot it, you have this. We're going to tell Desmos that this g of x that we have, we can regress it to the new graph y1. And just by that, it gives us our m is equal to 4. That is our new gradient for these f of x plus c, which is the actual f function, right? So we can say our f of s is now what? 4x plus c. C is what? 36. And therefore, what is the x-intercept? Is 36. Straightforward. And that's A. It depends on whichever way you want to go, but this is the easy way. I think you can solve it. You can see, graph it for you. See, intercept because we put it in initially. I prefer this formula easily. Just write g of s and put f of x in that function, s of plus 3. Use the point to graph it, and then regress that point to the original, and it will give you the new function, which is f of s 4x plus 36. And therefore, the asking you for y-intercept is 0, 36. Straightforward. Question 21 feels really difficult, but it's actually easy. This, you have a circle with the G at the center and the point N lay on the circle. So we're going to put a point you lay on the circle here, and therefore they're going to form angle from here to here. And they said there's another point here forming a tangent like that at this point. So forming a tangent at this point. Very, very important. If you draw it well, you can see the tangent will be on that point. So this is our N, this is our M, and this is H. What is the distance in millimeters between G and H? So we got to find another length. This is moving from here to here. So this is what they want us to find. But you have to know that this is the radius, therefore this is congruent to each other. Since this is the tangent, from here to here, it's also congruent to each other. So I'll put 3 here, and this 2. This is here different. This is not congruent to each other, so I will just change the color, and I'll say he has his own color, like that. That's the distance they want us to calculate. But we know, we don't know this distance, HN or HM, but we know they're congruent, therefore 2L. That's what I'm going to say, plus 2 times the radius should be equal to the perimeter, 3, 8, 5, 6. The 2L is equal to 3, 8, 5, 6 minus 2 times 168. That's the radius, all divided by 2. And then you can put in Desmos. You're going to get L is equal to 1761. Right answer. Negative. Wrong answer. If you pick this, you work all these out, draw this diagram and get this, and you put it. Wrong answer. Pay attention. If you don't pay attention, sometimes you lose points. This is what the SAT is designed, is to pay attention to test student who doesn't pay attention. What is the distance in millimeters of G to and H? This is what we're going to find. We find just L. And I know this is 90 degrees. This is going to be HG is equal to be 1761 square plus the radius square. Here, 168. But you don't have to calculate it. Why? Based on the answer choice, you can tell that this hypotenuse should be greater than these two lengths. This length is 161, so it's wrong answer. This is less than 161, so I'm not going to pick it. This is our radius. Therefore, right answer is D. D is your right answer. Test taking strategy, and now to stay away from trouble. I think this is the easiest question in the model. To me, is a bonus. but 95% of students will miss it because they think this is the hardest. I have a video, I will link it to this on how to find every constant in the quadratic equation. It's straightforward. Watch me. Watch this portion multiple times. When you see a portion, it will be easy. They're giving you f of x is equal to what? A x squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are all constant. They say this function passes through this point. Just by looking at it, 0, 0, I know this is the root. Boom, I finished. A is an integer greater than 1. Therefore, a is greater than 1. What is the value of a plus b? We don't need to use Desmos. If you use Desmos, you have to make so many assumptions. You may not get it. This is the easy way. Look, whenever they give you quadratic equation, based on what they've given me, they're giving me this point, 7, 0, and 3, 0. These are my roots. I can write this in the form of factored form, where a, I don't know, x minus 7 and x minus 3. Boom. You're done. Why? To find c, c is always f of 1 minus f of 0. Therefore, let me show you. If you take this equation, if you put f of 0, you're going to get c. If you take f of 1, this is 2 seconds job. You're going to get what? A plus b plus c. If you do f of 1 minus f of 0, you're going to get a plus b. That's what they want us to do. Do the same thing to this function. You have f of 1 is equal to what? A 1 minus 7, 1 plus 3. You're going to get minus 6, a minus 6 and 4. That means minus 24, a is f of 1. What is f of what? 0? F of 0 is the same thing. F of 0, I put it here. I have a. If you put 0 here, it's going to be minus 7. If you put 0 here, it's going to be 3. And this is going to be minus 21, a. F of 1 minus f of 0 means f of 1, which is what? Minus 2, 4a. Minus will become plus 21a. This is equal to minus 3a. Boom. That's your answer. They say a is greater than 1. Well, pick 2 because that's the number greater than 1. If you put here, you get minus 6. That's your right answer. And this is the way to do it. First, make sure you know the function. Use the roots they've been giving you. Put it in the factored form here. And then put in the answer choice. F of 1 minus f of 0 will give you a plus b. And that's the easy way to find it. If you like this video, thank you for watching. And just put a small comment if you want more. The next video that will come and watch it, you master quadratic. Take care of yourself. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Share the video if you need some, for those who need help. And good luck in your exams. Best of luck.